So confidently I say that this is beautiful work. And the beauty of it is we're really just beginning building the city to where we want it to be.
Well, there you have it. Mayor Harrell is very excited. Everyone's excited after the recent celebration to reopen Pier 58 at Seattle's all-new and improved waterfront park. How will this new 20-acre front door to the city invite people in, and what will it take to keep it an inviting place? Plus, what's the latest on who is visiting our city, especially from our neighbors to the north in Canada, as tariffs and international tensions continue to roll through North America and across the globe? And also, just how ready is Seattle for an invasion of tourists? I promise you here. Never like to scare you too much on this podcast. We're talking about people coming in for next year's World Cup. Well, if you're from Seattle, if you are not, please feel welcome to a very special Patrons First edition of Seattle News, Views, and Brews, your coffee break political podcast. I'm Brian Callanan. I'm a host on the Seattle channel. The views expressed here are mine. And if you haven't guessed it, this week I'm taking a closer look at how and why people are visiting Seattle and what impact that has on our region. And what better person to help us answer these questions than Tammy Canavan, the CEO of Visit Seattle, the nonprofit marketing organization that encourages, promotes, champions Seattle and King County as top destinations for visitors. Tammy, I want to make sure I'm using the right word. Do you feel like a champion today? What's going on?
I feel like a champion every day. I get to represent the city of Seattle.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, Tammy. Looking forward to talking with you here. Thanks also to our background noise sponsor, City Grind Espresso, on the first floor of Seattle City Hall. Thanks also to the patrons of the show. This Patrons First podcast is just for you, folks. If you're not a patron yet, please get on board. You get the Patrons First access, the coveted Seattle News, Views, and Brews decal. We even answer your questions on the show. Support levels start at just $5 a month. Find Seattle News, Views, and Brews on Patreon. Also, you can find this podcast on Converge Media. The video version is on Converge Wednesday nights at 7. All right, let's get things rolling with right here, right now. Tammy, thank you so much for joining me here. I wanted to make sure I let people know, what is Visit Seattle? Can you tell us what the organization is all about?
Yes, our mission is to responsibly grow the visitor economy to the benefit of our community. So our job is to build the visitor economy through bringing tourists here, convention groups, cruise passengers, and of course, World Cup fans.
And there's going to be a few of those next year. I know we're going to be talking about that quite a bit here in just a little bit. But I did want to talk about with you first the new waterfront park that is so exciting on Seattle's waterfront there. It's a lot more than just a park. It's a major attraction for tourists and for locals too. I have visited the Overlook Walk. Amazing. It's beautiful. Please, everybody, check that out. And some of the stats from the Friends of Waterfront Park really talk about the impact here. We're talking about $288 million in ongoing economic impact, nearly 2,400 jobs connected to the park, $10 million in local taxes, 1.5 million new visitors expected too. Can you help us to see the big picture here, Tammy? What impact is the waterfront park having right now? How important of an asset is this for the city going forward?
We are so lucky to have this kind of a legacy for our city. And, you know, for those of us who knew the city with the viaduct and you know, pre-waterfront park,
Yep.
To what it is today, that contrast is vast. And that's a really amazing story to tell. As we have been traveling, whether that is domestically or internationally, and we are talking about the waterfront park, the Overlook Walk, that connection with the waterfront that is so unique to Seattle, with the rest of the city and with the rest of the region, has just been a huge catalyst for storytelling, for new attention on Seattle, and really being able to talk about one of the most important things that attracts people to Seattle, whether you live here or you're visiting here, and that really is that we are Mother Nature City. We are connected to the work on the waterfront, the wildlife, the marine life on the waterfront,
Sure.
And really all of the excitement that is part of it. So all of the infrastructure developments are not just beautiful, they're functional, and they are a really important part of having that bit of newness that allows us to really tell our story in a different way as we promote visitation to the region.
Well, I do want to talk about how you keep a park like this vibrant and viable heading into the future. There was a story recently in the Seattle Times that was talking about the real estate market down at the waterfront. So the gist of the piece was retail spaces are looking great down there. Condos and office spaces, maybe not so much. And I know you focus on visitors in your work, but I know you have to pay attention to the larger ecosystem of the waterfront too. When visitors aren't showing up as much in the winter, it would be nice to have some local residents, maybe some office worker traffic to keep things vibrant. What's your take on this slightly uneven start to at least the real estate market on the waterfront there?
You make a really good point, and that's why I mentioned our mission statement, that the work that we do is to benefit our community. Really, the legacy that is built by the visitor economy or for the visitor economy is something that we all enjoy as residents as well. And these are uncertain times for a lot of things. So I think that there are cycles in development, and I don't think it's realistic for us to expect that all components of that are all going to grow at the same pace at the same time. We focus really on building visitation during need periods. Summer is always a wonderful place to be, particularly around the waterfront and downtown, because we've got lots of foot traffic. But when we're looking at building that visitor economy, this is when the legacy of what visitors are able to keep alive during the summer, we need that resident base. So I think there's an opportunity for, whether or not we have office buildings or condos or apartments that are full around the waterfront, the rest of us all still live here. There's plenty of us here.
Yeah.
So, encouraging all of us to come and experience that waterfront and take advantage of the times when it's a little bit quieter,
Right.
where we can enjoy some of those institutions and the restaurants and the attractions and the harbor tours and the ferries and all that kind of stuff. It's just a really great example or opportunity really for all of us to support that. The Friends of the Waterfront are doing an amazing job with all of the programming. Yeah. They're keeping it vibrant. They're keeping it safe and clean and all of that kind of stuff. So we just simply get to augment that, but they're doing all the heavy lifting.
I did want to touch on that public safety piece, because it always comes up when people talk to me about visiting Seattle. They may see some national news coverage, etc. When you talk to people, is the waterfront safe? Is Seattle safe? What do you tell them?
I live downtown, and I rarely drive. I have to remember to go start my car every couple of weeks so that the hybrid battery doesn't die. And right. I think that you're a news guy. When it bleeds, it leads, and there's always something in the news about that. We work really hard to combat just misperceptions. We are a major city in the United States. Mm-hmm. There is not one major city in the United States that doesn't have some sort of crime or nefarious activity within its boundaries. And I think that we sometimes get painted with a bad rap. There are some news stations nationally that love to pick on the West Coast in general. I think that we are painted with the same brush as Portland or San Francisco. And to that, we work hard with those partners to combat that as well. So it's our opportunity, right, to invite the world and to come and experience it, and to understand that when you're here, it feels really good. And it is a wonderful city to be around. It's incredibly walkable. And there are so many things that we can do to access nature and be a part of all of that. And I think that most people will find that's trouble-free. Yeah,
recently voted the most walkable city in the U.S. So hopefully some people are enjoying that on the waterfront. I do want to switch gears a little bit with you and talk about visitors who might be coming down from Canada. Tourism Economics, I saw this recently reported travel from Canadian visitors has fallen as much as 24% in the first half of the year. Much of this, of course, linked to the Trump administration, with the president's comments about Canada becoming the 51st state of the U.S. and tariff policies also having a negative effect on international relations. So what's the status of visitors from Canada to Seattle right now? Because they're an important part of the tourism economy here, too.
Incredibly important. They're more than 5% of our overall visitor spend, or they traditionally have been. And the international mix in general is a very important part of our visitor mix. They stay longer, they spend more, so they are fewer in number, but they are incredibly impactful. And we are seeing a softening from international visitation overall, nationally and certainly locally. We don't have specific data that is going to be precise enough for me to give you percentages on what that drop off. Anecdotally, we certainly hear from local businesses, whether those are hotels or restaurants or others, that Canadian traffic is down around that amount, 25, 30% potentially. Yep. We are almost a border town, so we are extra reliant on the Canadian visitation versus other spots potentially within the state or within the United States. So we feel it more acutely. There are still Canadians coming here, so that's hopeful. That rhetoric is hard. From the entire international community, there are other barriers as well. When we see the cost of applying for a visa going up, visa integrity fees, or potential other things that are making it cost prohibitive, in addition to the rising cost of travel in general, all of those things are headwinds against us. And it's our job to figure out how we roll with that, how we deal with it, and continue to invest in those visitors.
What do you do? Like, what are some of the different things that you've got cooking?
From a strategy perspective, the travel trade, so the people that are packaging trade, the people who are selling it, travel from Canada or from countries from around the world, we work really closely with them and with airlines to understand what's the right tone, and how do we do that? And that's different per country. How we do this in Canada is really aligned with Canadian Airlines starting to tentatively go back and market their American routes. So we're partnering on that and following their lead, but just being careful not to be too bold. I think that the Canadian people understand that politics and people are very different. We see a lot of that. We see some great ads from Canada welcoming Americans and wanting to sort of hug it out and things like that. So I think that there's hope for the long-term relationship. Right now, there are some people making a statement about what they're going to do with their dollars, and they might be a little bit nervous about crossing borders because there is, if it bleeds, it leads news. Yeah. And so there's an impression, I think, that it is harder to cross the border than it can be, and those are all certainly things that we need to combat with appropriate public affairs and public relations messaging and facts. We see fewer detainments at the border than we have actually in previous years, but it's an exciting thing to talk about right now. Okay. So there are a lot of good things that are happening with tourism infrastructure, with federal investment in FAA and in other things, and yet there's just a lot of emotion in the news these days, and it's a lot.
It certainly is. I appreciate you breaking that down with me, Tammy. Thanks very much. All right, well, coming up, a look at a new plan to install wayfinding kiosks in downtown and other neighborhoods, too. How will they work? What are some of the concerns about them? Tammy and I are going to break this down on Now Hear This. As we have reported on the podcast over the past couple weeks, Seattle is getting some new electronic kiosks downtown. 30 of them will be installed downtown before the World Cup. Then 50 more are planned to be spread across the city in the near future. These kiosks are about 8 feet tall, 3 feet wide, would provide free Wi-Fi, multilingual wayfinding, and would also provide some advertising revenue to the Downtown Seattle Association for downtown improvement projects. As the DSA's CEO, John Scholes, explained at a council committee meeting back in May, these kiosks will serve the community in many ways.
There's extensive public benefit that will be provided through the provision of these kiosks within the downtown and across the neighborhood business districts.
Tammy, you've been supportive of these kiosks, and when you were quoted a couple months ago in a city press release, I hadn't realized this, but a third of visitors to Seattle spend less than a month planning their trip. 1 in 10 visitors don't have any plans aside from their destination and accommodations. I guess if you're looking at this from a Visit Seattle perspective, we really need these digital kiosks.
We really do. If you've been visiting another place where you're not from, information isn't always as easy to find as you wish it was. And I think that there is an opportunity with these kiosks. You mentioned a lot of benefits. When you're traveling internationally, you don't always have a Wi-Fi plan that is going to help you find information. So saying that people are using their mobile phones and other resources to find information on what they can do and where they're trying to get to is not necessarily as easy as one might assume. Having multilingual assistance is an incredible importance. And the idea of that people are all going to go to a visitor information center or be able to have their information together in advance isn't necessarily realistic. But in addition to that, our job is to maximize the spend of visitors while they're here. So if there's an opportunity for them to be spontaneous, to find out information that they wouldn't necessarily have found online or in advance of a trip, or they find themselves with a free hour and we can steer them into a local business, that only helps, right? It helps our local small businesses, it helps our big businesses, and it helps to distribute visitors throughout the region as well. So spreading out that economic love, but also that vitality, and certainly then enriches the experience of the visitor. So they go on and they evangelize for us and become really great ambassadors for the destination. So it's certainly helpful for locals too. There are folks that haven't been downtown for a very long time, and there's been a lot of changes. So what are the opportunities for them to do a little bit of self-discovery and use these kiosks too? Everything that serves the visitor economy is not necessarily just for visitors, right? We get to enjoy it too. And you'll hear me say that over and over and over again. We exist to benefit the community. So whether that is by economic impact or ourselves being able to take advantage of all these cool things that our visitors seem to find out about and we as tourists in our own town kind of miss, I think that's a really important thing to consider.
Gotcha. I did want to make sure I brought up the Design Commission for the City of Seattle. Wasn't super happy about these kiosks. They didn't recommend them with a 5-4 vote last year. They cited concerns about their impact on the landscape. They wanted more public outreach before this was implemented. What's your reaction to those concerns, Tammy?
I'm sure that they have very finite parameters within which they operate, and that's their job to take a look at that.
Right.
When we are looking at, and I know one of the objections is sort of the size and how that affects, but if they're tiny and they're subtle, then they're not.
Then no one's going to look at them, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that we need to take that into account. There are plenty of other things on our street that are adding some life and some vibrancy. I would hate to think that people are assuming that the appearance of the kiosks is unattractive, or that they are barriers, or that they are somehow detracting. I think that the benefits of what these kiosks are going to bring to our community far outweigh any other concerns that might be voiced about them.
And it might be a situation where some of these actually go into neighborhoods other than downtown. I think that's an important part of it, because I know there's a lot of action downtown, but I know when you say visit Seattle, there's more places to visit in Seattle than downtown. Help me out with that next part. If indeed these kiosks go into other neighborhoods, what could that look like? How could that help people in neighborhoods outside of downtown, let's say?
One of the beautiful things about Seattle is that we are a community of neighborhoods, and each one of those has a distinctly different feel and flavor. It has a different opportunity for us to experience Seattle in a very different way. And so that distribution is really important, not only to share the economic benefit, but really to enrich the experience of our visitors. And it gives our residents an opportunity to interact with people that they might not have otherwise met. Wouldn't it be cool to just find somebody from Switzerland walking down the street looking kind of lost, and you can take them to your favorite restaurant, or at least direct them there?
I love it. I love it. Yeah. How many fondue places can we find? That's going to be the challenge next time I run into someone from Switzerland. Can't wait. I thank you very much for that, Tammy. I wanted to switch gears just a little bit more with you, if I could, and talk about some big changes to arguably Seattle's most iconic place for visitors. I'm talking about Pike Place Market. These changes have been underway since April. We're talking about this car ban that's been in place, limiting vehicles from coming through. And as a pedestrian who loves walking around the area, I really like the vibe, but I wanted to ask about this no-car situation, which is mainly happening because there's some utility work going on. Can this be permanent? Should this be permanent? What's your take on this, Tammy?
Can it? Will it? It could. Of course it could.
Yeah, right.
Should it? I personally agree with you. It is a safe zone for pedestrians, and again, for locals and for visitors. And Pike Place Market being such the center of the soul of our city is such an important asset for all of us to enjoy. So anything that is helping us feel safe and comfortable and enjoy and maximize our time there, and certainly encourage us to stay a little bit longer and spend a little bit more money, is always a good thing. It is also not my field of expertise on how deliveries get made and what needs to happen with that community. So I know that Pike Place Market and the PDA is listening carefully to feedback from residents in the area, from the market merchants, and certainly from the city and others, to make sure that they're handling that with great balance. But it's been great to see that pilot project, and I certainly have enjoyed wandering around in the street without worrying about getting hit by a car.
Absolutely. No. It's a different atmosphere down there completely, I would say. I guess it's one of those situations where maybe some of the local businesses liked having some car traffic there, so people who did actually shop there could get in and out. Is there a way to balance this? Maybe not a complete car ban, but maybe have people come earlier in the morning. I'm trying to figure out how you can answer some of those concerns, because I'm with you. I don't know all the back and forth of how deliveries are made, etc., but I have to imagine you could maximize what's good for tourists and maximize what's good for businesses, right?
I'm sure there is. From an information sharing perspective, we can certainly help amplify where people can park, how easy that is, how easy it is to get transit or take a Lime bike or something else like that down to the market, so that you're not having to deal with your car.
Right.
We are an incredibly sustainable destination, so I'd love to see people using alternate transportation versus taking their cars there anyway. But we also want people coming over from Bellevue to experience, or Issaquah or other areas around the region, and so they're going to bring their cars. So I think that we can help amplify what they can do with that and encourage people to do that in a convenient way. And as those options grow, we can continue to help tell that story.
It's interesting you bring up those East Side cities, because I think part of your role is talking about Seattle and a little bit more of King County too. Is that true? You're trying to bring in as many people as you can to check out Seattle and a lot of wonderful parts around it too. Isn't that right?
We are. We are the Seattle King County Convention and Visitors Bureau is our official name. We're doing business as Visit Seattle.
Got it.
So we do care about the entire county, and it is important. And that means a lot. It means about $8 billion in annual spending, about 68,000 jobs. 68,000 of our neighbors are going to work in the hospitality industry in the county. And it brings a great deal of benefit to the entire region. So we want our residents within King County all to experience all of King County.
Yeah,
we want
right.
them visiting and certainly feeling good about that and speaking well of it and helping people feel welcome. But we also want to make sure that economic benefit is resonating throughout the region.
Absolutely. You have to look at it regionally. That very much makes sense to me.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Tim. And I'll move on with you here because coming up, we have to have this discussion about World Cup preparations. Is Seattle ready for this worldwide event with a series of big-time soccer matches happening in our city next summer? More details coming up on What's Next. Well, if you've been hiding under a rock, perhaps you might not be aware that Seattle is hosting 6 World Cup matches next year, the biggest soccer tournament in the world. There are 16 host cities across 3 countries, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. The fact that Seattle has picked up some of these matches here says a lot about how we love our football as well as our football. So, Tammy, I've seen some estimates that say Seattle's going to see somewhere around 750,000 visitors over the 3 weeks of this event. Are they all staying at your place? What's going on here? Is Seattle ready for the World Cup? What's up?
They're all staying as guests in my downtown apartment.
I love it.
They will be everywhere, right? We do anticipate that this is going to be a really exciting time, and there are a couple of important things to talk about. They will be staying. There are a lot of people coming, so they'll be staying everywhere. The idea of 750,000 incremental visitors is not realistic. I think we have to know that there's going to be some shift in what that visitor mix looks like. So it will be a really busy time, and it will be really fun. There's going to be a lot of celebrating going on and a lot of really great energy around the city. And this really gives us an incredible opportunity to dress the city up, to implement some new things. It's an amazing catalyst for local development. We're seeing projects that are going to be finished at the airport, in transportation, in all kinds of things, just in time for the World Cup. So it's been a beautiful catalyst really for, again, things that benefit us as residents and that are going to be really amazing for the visitor economy. Will we be ready by the time they come? Absolutely. Do we have some more work to do? Sure, we do.
Yeah.
We don't even know what teams are coming yet, and we're not going to know that until December. So there's going to be a lot going on. We are working in concert with the local organizing committee, who is really responsible for the bulk of the leadership around World Cup. We were part of the bid to bring it here, but after that, others, take on the logistics and the liaising with FIFA and all that kind of thing. There are going to be playbooks that are going to be available for the local community, one being developed by the Chamber that helps small businesses understand how they can plug into this opportunity. One by the Sports Commission that helps people understand how they can help host watch parties, because when FIFA's around, you don't just willy-nilly turn it on a TV and invite people to your business.
Right.
So there's going to be some protocols and some important steps and things that people need to know around that. From Visit Seattle's perspective, we're creating a playbook. We are actually creating an alternate brand, because you can't just sort of say the World Cup is coming and put a picture of the trophy in your ad or in your window.
And done.
That's not allowed. So we will be creating a toolkit where people will be able to tap into that, to tap into a larger marketing program that is going to help distribute visitors around the area. We will be creating assets that people can use that are going to help them take advantage of that a little bit more. And in addition to that, we've recently launched the Certified Tourism Ambassadors Program, CTA, which is a certification. So if you complete it, you get to put CTA after your name in your signature or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
And that's really a training program that is designed for frontline or any of us that are going to run into people, and not just for FIFA, but just in general. It talks a little bit about the history about Seattle. What are the things to do? How can you help people find information? How can you direct people to one of those fabulous kiosks? To find some of the information that they're going to need to really maximize their stay. And I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm going to say,
World
Cup, as exciting as all of that is, and as we are getting ready to welcome the world here, that puts us on this incredible stage that we get to use that as a springboard to our future legacy. It opens up markets and ways to tell our story and talk about Seattle and King County to talk about how safe and wonderful and clean our city is, what an incredible connection with nature we have, our culinary scene, our walkable city, all of that to audiences that we would not normally be able to reach. So it just opens the door for incredible future legacy.
I'm with you. I do need to make sure that I try to inject one piece here. There's a number of different issues. I think about homeless encampments. I think about traffic. Is there one big issue on your mind as in we really need to have some better answers on this before the crowds come in? Is there something that is keeping you up at night when it comes to that?
I'm not up at night because there is an incredible coalition of partners. I mean, we in just the short time that we've been talking about the amazing work that the Friends of the Waterfront are doing, right. The Downtown Seattle Association, that the Chamber is doing, that the Sports Commission is doing, that the city is working on, that the Department of Transportation is working on, and our friends at the transit company. So when we're all working together, I have no doubt that everything is going to be as bright and shiny and wonderful as it possibly can be. There is a great incentive. I mean, even the White House has a task force on making sure that the World Cup is successful. So there's a lot of focus on this, and is there work to do? Always. Yeah. But I do believe that with everybody with their shoulder to the wheel, this is going to be a really amazing event that will encourage all kinds of community pride.
I'm with you on that. Do you have a secret red phone on your desk where they call you and let you know when light rail to the east side is coming on? I heard it was going to be April of next year. I'm like, oh man, that sounds great. Do you have any intel on that one? What do you got, Tammy?
I will defer to Mr. Constantine on that one.
Okay, fair enough. I wish you did have that red phone on your desk, though. That'd be very helpful.
I have an iPhone, and the text
they just keep on coming. Yeah. I do need to wrap up with you, Tam, and I always enjoy asking my guests questions that are impossible to answer, and I have such a question for you. So, you run Visit Seattle. If a person only had 1 hour to spend touring the city, what should they do? What should they see?
If you only had 1 hour, I would think that you would need to go and experience our beautiful new asset. And that is go to the market, pick up some stuff, whether that is, local food or flowers or
big fan of Tiny Donuts. Keep going.
Artisans, whatever that is. Take a walk over the Overlook Walk. Go check out the aquarium and the waterfront and stroll around there. If you've only got an hour, that's probably going to consume it. But I think that the views from the Overlook Walk, you can see the Space Needle, you can see the stadiums, you can see the water and the Olympic Mountains, and on a good day, Mount Rainier. So I would say that if you only had 1 hour, that's what I would want you to do, so that you can get infected with the desire to come back and spend much, much more time.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up then. What's the sneaky, really cool thing about Seattle that not enough people are visiting that they should? Any thoughts there?
Oh my gosh. I think that the CID is, something that we all treasure locally, and there's just so much richness and culture and food and experience there, and not necessarily a place where we see enough people going to. So I would say go check that out if you want an undiscovered gem.
Tammy, dropping the knowledge. I am so appreciative. Tammy Canavan is CEO of Visit Seattle. Thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Truly an honor. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Tammy. Thanks to everybody listening to Seattle News, Views, and Brews, where you can always find out what's brewing in local politics and the tourism industry, too. Thanks again to patrons who support the show. This Patrons First podcast is for you. Appreciate the support. If you want to be a patron, please consider a pledge of $5 per month or more on Patreon. You can hear this podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. Thanks for watching on Converge Media, too. We'll see you next time. Seattle News, Views, and Brews is an independent production of Callanan Media Services. Copyright 2025.